Now, welcome to another episode of Be Relentless Method interview.
Woo!
Oh, yes. Today we are talking to Iqra. Iqra, introduce yourself to the audience. Let them know
Yes,
what they want to know. What do you
absolutely.
want them to know, in fact?
Absolutely. I'll just go very deep, very quick as to how I actually came to work with you, Bogdan. I've been in the high ticket sales space for 2.5 years, and my performance has always been something that I am proud of, but my mindset has always been something that I'm not proud of. And it did go, it wasn't just in high ticket sales, it went as far back as my childhood that I wasn't proud of the way I handle things and perceive things.
Yeah.
And the tipping point for me, as you very well know, was a personal situation that I was going through at that
Yeah.
particular time, where I was internalizing blame for everything completely. I was taking on a little bit too much accountability, if there is such a thing as that,
Yeah.
in a negative way. And I came to you, and I remember my goal when I came to work with you. It was such a simple but such a profound goal, right? It was, Bogdan, I just want to be happy. I want to be happy. I kept
Yeah.
repeating that phrase to you multiple times. So it's a journey I've been on where I've seen it impact me in so many ways. And once your mindset is impacted, everything is impacted, right? You're going to have an off day with work. You're not going to want to take calls. You're not going to want to talk to people in the way that you usually would interact with people. You're not going to be very kind to yourself either. So
Me or
yes,
you?
me always. You're very kind always. It's me that's a little bitch sometimes, but was a little bitch sometimes, but yeah. So that's really what brought me to you. It was finally seeing I'd hit that tipping point, hadn't I was like, this is enough is enough. I'm
So
30
give
now.
a little bit give a little bit of context or a little bit deeper explanation for everyone that is listening. How was that state that you were in and that you were operating from was affecting your personal life and your professional life? Let's go for the personal life first. Like, how was that state affecting you on a day to day?
So I would take things that people said, and so they would be giving their opinion on me without knowing me at all, or knowing me very, very briefly. And I would internalize things very quickly. So I would, number one, assume that what they're saying is correct, despite having lived in my own body and my own brain for 30 years. And then on top of that, I would obsess about the things that people had said to me repeatedly. So I remember there was a situation that I explained to you. I'd been working with a mentor. He said something a little bit iffy to me. I obsessed about it for a week. Now, that just isn't healthy for any human being. We speak of physical health being very important, but for somebody to sit and overanalyze another person's words and their potential viewpoint with their words and try to psychoanalyze somebody, that is also not healthy at all. So that was one situation. And then the other situation was I'd found myself. Oh, sorry, Doctor.
Yeah. What were you feeling in that moment? How was your emotional, let's say, reaction on everything that was happening? What was going on through your head?
Yeah. It was anger was one of the biggest ones. Anger I felt so intensely, I couldn't let go of it. On top of that, there was fear. There was also shame. That there's so much. I remember in that just that first conversation that we had, and I'm so happy to share this because I don't feel any shame for this at all. But that first conversation that we had, we unpacked, okay, this is what's going on in your relationship. These are the emotions that are coming out, but this actually goes back as far back as your childhood, and these are what's coming out at this point. And I was able to speak to you about that in a way where you weren't judgmental about my situation. It didn't mean I didn't have the love from those people. It just meant that they viewed things in a different way. So it was fear, anger, shame. They were the big ones, really, the ones I wanted to fix the most.
And even though you were performing absolutely great at work and you were having like a good good months, let's say, and when it comes financially, when it comes to, let's say, career satisfaction and anything like this, how was these that you just mentioned affecting your progress in professional life?
Well, in many ways, right? So when we speak about fear, anger, shame, fear was impacting me in the sense that if I came across somebody that I didn't naturally just bond with, I wouldn't feel that I could challenge them in those
Okay.
situations. Anger came if somebody didn't show up to my call. And this is something that you taught me, like how the fuck do you know what they've got going on in their personal life? And I would feel that anger towards this person that I hadn't even met, and that my job was actually to help them become the best version of themselves. And yet I'm already hating them before they've come into this conversation with me. And then shame really came from the fact that I felt like a fraud in my role because I'd never had a framework or a process that I was following. I was always just being myself on a call. And part of me, having seen all these gurus and these frameworks and all this objection handling and deeper discoveries, started to feel like a fraud because I thought, well, I'm not doing these things. So is it just a fluke? Is it just luck? So in every single way, it had an
Yeah.
impact on me.
Okay. And I mean, obviously, your skill level, it is there. You're closing deals, you're crushing it, that part. But the progress or taking it to the next level or something that was blocked and it was completely different, it was inner part. Now, what do you think? Like, what changed after spending, let's say, 3-4 months working together?
Can I say everything? Because everything did change on, and quite literally, right, Bogdan, you know this as well. Everything in my life is so different to the way it was 4 months ago. Not just one thing is the relationship I have with my family has changed. It was always a great relationship, but it wasn't an authentic relationship on my part, not on theirs. That's changed massively. My personal situation is finally something that I've been able to let go of, right? I might have a little slip here and there, but it's still something I have complete clarity over and know that this is not what I want for myself in my life. And then even my interactions with other people. So I will give people a chance naturally. That's just how I'm inclined. But I'm also so well versed with my own boundaries now that okay, if this person is going to act like a complete and total twat multiple times, you don't need to have access to me at that point. And then that in of itself, even with my sales career, you've seen, Bogdan, that the offers I'd been on, we can externalize it and say, okay, the lead flow went down and whatever. But it put me in this frame of resourcefulness instead of these limitations that I had. And actually I've gone, let's go deeper into my skill set here. Let's fall back in love with the process of what I'm doing rather than just the outcome. And when you're not tied to the outcome, life is so much more joyful because when I was tied to the outcome, I would have 20K, then 30K, and I still wasn't happy with that. Whereas now I just have true abundance, I feel, in everything because I've actually changed the way I think about things.
And it's funny, like because many people think that to actually make that change, to make that shift, takes years or you need to sit down on top of a mountain and meditate for decades or anything that comes with it. How fast those shifts happen?
I would say, and this is just me being completely honest here, it's as fast as you want it to happen. So, and this is something, again, I'll share directly, is when I was working with you at the beginning, I would say, yes, Bogdan, I understand. And logically, I did understand. But it was a little bit in one ear, out the other, because I still didn't respect my own boundaries. I wasn't taking the lessons and applying them. The minute I said, okay, these are the lessons I've been taught, and this is what I should be applying because this is actually what I want in my life, the change was instantaneous. It doesn't take you months and months. So really, it's how resistant are you to the change yourself? Because sometimes it's like with any course, right? People will purchase a course and they won't show up and do the actual work. They might show up to the calls, they're not actually doing the work. So are you going to do the work? Because if you are, it will be an instantaneous change in your life.
Yeah, and we had like few different, let's say, deep exercises that we did. How did that go for you? Just give them a little bit of hint to everyone that is listening.
Very emotional, in many ways very joyful as well. So I remember one exercise that we were doing. I'm sure you remember this as well. I remember I was wearing shorts and I was sat on my computer. I had my eyes closed and I started crying, but I didn't, because I was so into the exercise. I didn't actually know I was crying until I felt my tears fall onto my leg. And then when I came out of it, it was such a release of these emotions that I'd had, and it was just happiness, right? I mean, that sounds kind of awful that I started crying, but sometimes you have to release these emotions because you've been bottling them up for so long. And that's the reason why, I can't speak for everybody, but that's the reason that I started to struggle so much, is because I was bottling everything up and then erupting. Whereas when I released that, it was just so empowering for me, and it made me see myself and also other people in a different light. So like one of the biggest lessons I took from you, Bogdan, is you said to me, somebody, you should true happiness is, I'm happy, but I also wish the other person to be happy as well. So when people, and that's prospects, relationships, whatever it might be. And I think that's been really empowering for me throughout the exercises, that now I'm at that mindset where, yes, I'm happy and somebody else is happy and their joy doesn't impact my happiness. But at the same time, I do things in a way where my boundaries are always strong. So they've just been really emotional sessions for me, but really profound, life-changing sessions as well.
I always say you cannot process emotions by piling them up and running away from them. You cannot, and that leaves a real physical imprint on our nervous system, on our cells, in our DNA. And it can be carried away with generations. And God knows, I cannot say for sure, but that imprint can be transferred later to the generations after you and maybe your kids that they have, which is not really healthy for anything else. It's not really healthy for our body. It's not healthy for our mind, and definitely not healthy for our relationships with people, no matter what type of relationships are there. Personal friendships, intimate relationships, even professional relationships with our prospects. And the moment when you release that, the moment when you recalibrate that structure inside, life changes. How is your life now?
Yeah. It's interesting you say that, because that's scientifically proven as well, right? So there's this really good book, How Trauma Shapes Us, and it is passed down from generations down to us. The way that I am different has impacted my relationships with the most important people in my life to me as well. So being more present with my niece, being more aware of the relationship I have with my mum, which is it was already such a strong relationship, but it's so much more real now. It's not a performance, it's actually rooted in reality instead, which allows me to then be free, because I don't want to be performing with two different faces to my own mother, right? So that's allowed that freedom for me, which in turn has meant that I can go out and explore these parts of the world, number one. And number two, I can actually commit myself and focus on one thing rather than multiple things. And then even just from a self-development perspective, being able to let go of previous situations that I couldn't let go of for, literally almost 3 years at that point, even though I knew probably like 1 month in, it wasn't the right situation for me. That has been so empowering, because now everything comes from within me. So I'm responsible for everything, right? So I'm responsible for my joy. If I feel sadness, I'm responsible for how I turn that around. And then that mindset in of itself is, okay, if I'm responsible for all of these things, I'm also responsible for my success as well. Why have I limited myself at thinking 30K was a great month? I want a 100K month, just like Bogdan did. I want a 200K month, right? Beat you there, right, Bogdan? In terms of comms, like that's where my mindset is. And I just feel more limitless in how I think. Whereas before I'd put all these limits on myself that I didn't even know existed. So it's limitless freedom.
And for the end, what would you suggest to everyone that is in sales and everyone that is watching this interview anyway? Like what would your advice be to people that are in this, let's say, career in sales, people that are doing good, even people that are crushing on the outside? What would you suggest them?
Yeah. It depends on somebody's internal state, right? Nobody knows us better than we know ourselves. So we might put on a certain image in front of other people, we know exactly what's going on. So if we know we come across very sociable, but inside we're very lonely and we feel that shame, if we know we're trying to appear calm, but inside we're feeling fearful, there's always going to be that cognitive dissonance between what you're thinking and how you're actually acting. And I was saying this to you earlier as well, Bogdan, that, you know, if athletes are investing millions and millions of dollars into their mindset, why do they do that, right? Why do they do that if they're already the top one of the 1% in the world? They do that because they know that that's an area that they need to be exceptional at to get even better than where they're at, right? There's no limit to success ultimately, whether you make 20K, 30K, or 50K. You know that you can have more than that. And if you're not able to achieve that, it's because of this cognitive dissonance that you've created. So why not do what the top athletes and performers do and go and fix that? And I said this to you as well. Everyone needs a fucking mindset coach. Even all the coaches in this space, in my opinion, need a mindset coach, right? So everybody needs it. And it's something that you should at least be willing to explore and give yourself the chance to be able to improve. There's nobody in the world, in my opinion, that's going to say everything is fucking great without me having actually put any work towards that outcome.
True story, true story. Anyway, I hope this was helpful for everyone that is watching. I hope that Iqra, with her energy, lift you up, and with her story actually open your eyes and what is possible for you. So Iqra, thank you so much for being here, and I cannot wait for our next call.
Deuces.
See ya.